We now continue into 2 Corinthians chapter 11, where Shaul enters into reluctant boasting to expose false emissaries, defend covenant purity, and show that true apostolic authenticity is marked not by polished self-exaltation, but by jealous love, truth, suffering, and weakness borne for Messiah's sake. This chapter contains no explicit Tanakh citations. Even without those listed, the chapter stands firmly in covenant continuity. Jealous love declared, to simplicity guarded, to false emissaries exposed, to reluctant boasting begins, to suffering counted, to weakness embraced. True servants bear witness, false ones exploit and boast. Yehovah, guard us from deceit dressed in righteousness. Keep our devotion to Messiah simple, pure, and whole. Teach us to recognize truth by holy endurance, not outward shine. Yehovah El Emet, the God of truth who exposes counterfeit servants and preserves his people in sincere devotion. Yehovah El Emet, Kadosh, 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 holy, holy, holy. Please fill me and lead me, and cover me and stir me, and speak through me with your Ruach Kodesh, your Holy Spirit, your set-apart breath, that I may speak your written words with boldness and humility to those who listen. I ask all these things in Yeshua HaMashiach, Jesus the Christ, the Messiah, the Anointed, the Aleph and Tav's name. Amen. We'll start with the Shema. Listen and obey. Children of Yehovah, pay careful attention and respond. Yehovah is our power and authority. Yehovah works in unity with himself, and you shall act upon your love. To Yehovah with your power and authority, with your thoughts and mind, with your entire body, and with all the muchness that you have. Yod, Hey, Vav, Hey. Hand, behold. Nail, behold. 2 Corinthians chapter 11. I would like you to bear with me for a little foolishness. Please do bear with me, for I am jealous for you with God's kind of jealousy, since I promised to present you as a pure virgin in marriage to your one husband, the Messiah. And I fear that somehow your minds have been seduced away from simple and pure devotion to the Messiah, just as Hava was deceived by the serpent with craftiness. For if someone comes and tells you about another Yeshua, the Aleph and the Tav, then the one we told you about, or if you receive a spirit different from the one you received, or accept some so-called good news different from the good news you already accepted, you bear with him well enough. For I don't consider myself in any way inferior to these super emissaries. I may not be a skilled speaker, but I do have the knowledge. Anyhow, we have made this clear to you in every way and in every circumstance. Or did I sin in humbling myself so that you could be exalted in proclaiming God's good news? Good news to you free of charge. I robbed other congregations by accepting support from them in order to serve you. And when I was with you and had needs, I did not burden anyone. My needs were met by the brothers who came from Macedonia. In nothing have I been a burden to you, nor will I be. The truthfulness of the Messiah is in me, so that this boast concerning me is not going to be silent anywhere in Achaia. Why won't I ever accept your support? It is that I don't love you? God knows I do. No, I do it, and I will go on doing it, in order to cut the ground from under those who want to excuse to boast they work the same way we do. The fact is that such men are pseudo-emissaries. They tell lies about their work and masquerade as emissary of the Messiah. There is nothing surprising in that. The adversary himself masquerades as the angel of light. So it's no great thing if his workers masquerade as servants of righteousness. They will meet the end of their deeds deserve. I repeat, don't let anyone think I am a fool, but even if you do, at least receive me as a fool, so that I too may do little boasting. What I am saying is not in accordance with the master, rather that conceited boasting is spoken as a fool would speak. Since many people boast in a worldly way, I too will boast this way, for since you yourselves are so wise, you gladly put up with fools. You put up with it if someone makes slaves of you, exploits you, and takes you in, puffs you up, and slaps you in the face. To my shame, I must admit that we have been too weak to do such things. But if anyone dares to boast about something, I'm talking like a fool. I am just as daring. Are they Hebrew speakers? So am I. Are they one of the people of Israel? So am I. Are they descendants of Abraham? So am I. Are they servants of the Messiah? I'm talking like a madman. I'm a better one. I've worked much harder, been imprisoned more often, suffered more beatings, been near death over and over. 5 times I received 40 lashes less one from the Jews. 3 times I was beaten with a rod. Once I was stoned. 3 times I was shipwrecked. I spent a night and a day in the open sea. In my many travels, there have been exposed to danger from rivers, dangers from robbers, dangers from my own people, dangers from the nations, dangers in the city, danger in the desert, danger in the sea, danger of false brothers. I have toiled and endured hardships, often not have slept enough, been hungry and thirsty, frequently gone without food, been cold and naked. And besides these external matters, there is the daily pressure of my anxious concern for all the congregations. Who is weak without my sharing his weaknesses? Who falls into sin without my burning inside? If I must boast, I will boast about these. I will boast that show how weak I am. God the Father, the Master Yeshua, the Aleph Natav, blessed be he forever, knows that I am not lying. When I was in Dalmuta, the governor of the king of Artes had the city of Dalmuta guarded in order to arrest me, but I was lowered in a basket through an opening in the wall and escaped his clutches. What is the Hebrew word that encapsulates this chapter? Kinah, jealousy, a godly covenantal jealousy that guards the bride from corruption and false spiritual seduction. Tanakh spine. No explicit Tanakh citations, even so the chapter carries clear covenant continuity. Yehovah has always guarded the purity of his people, opposed flattering deception, and exposed shepherds who consume rather than serve. Shaul's burden matches that pattern. He fears corruption of devotion, unmasks false labors, and shows that real ministry is proved not by self-advertisement, but by costly, faithful endurance. Chapter flow. Shaul begins by asking the Corinthians to bear a little foolishness from him, signaling that what flows is an ironic, reluctant form of boasting. He immediately explains the motive. He is jealous over them with a jealousy from God. He had betrothed them to one husband so that he might present them as a pure virgin to Messiah. His fear is not theatrical, just as the serpent deceived Chava, Eve, by cunning, so their minds could be corrupted away from the simplicity and purity due to Messiah. He notes how easily they tolerate distortions, another Yeshua, a different spirit, or a different good news, showing how vulnerable they have become to impressive deception. Shaul then says he is not inferior to super emissaries, however others may style them. Even if unskilled in polished speech, he is not lacking in knowledge, and there has been made evident among him. He asks whether he committed sin by humbling himself so that they might be exalted, since he proclaimed God's good news to them free of charge. He says he robbed other assemblies by accepting support from them in order to serve Corinth. When in Corinth and in need, he did not become a burden to them because the brothers from Macedonia supplied what he lacked. He kept himself from burdening them and will continue to do so. He insists that boasting will not be silenced in the regions of Achaia, not because he does not love them, but because God knows he does. He continues in this pattern to cut off any opportunity from those who desire the platform to appear equal with him in what they boast about. Then the chapter turns severe. Such men are false emissaries, deceitful workers, disguising themselves as emissaries of Messiah. This should not surprise anyone, for Satan himself disguises himself as an angel of light. Therefore, it is no great thing if servants also disguise themselves as servants of righteousness. Their end will be corrupted by their deeds. Shaul then resumes the ironic boasting, asking again not to be considered a fool, yet if they will receive fools, let them bear with him also. He clarifies that this boastful speaking is not according to the master's ordinary pattern, but as in folly, meeting them in the very register they have tolerated. Since many boast according to the flesh, Shaul says he will do the same for the sake of exposure. He rebukes the Corinthians for tolerating those who enslave them, devour them, take advantage of them, exalt themselves, and even strike them in the face. Speaking ironically, he says that he too is weak for the sort of domination. Then comes the catalog. Are they Hebrews? So is he. Israelites? So is he. Seed of Abraham? So is he. Are they servants of the Messiah? He speaks as if mad, but says he is more, then proves it not by polish, but by suffering. He lists far more labors, imprisonments, countless beatings, and frequent exposure to death. From the Yehudim, he received 39 lashes 5 times. 3 times he was beaten with rods, once stoned, 3 times shipwrecked, a night and a day in the deep. He names repeated dangers, rivers, robbers, his own people, the nations, cities, wilderness, sea, false brothers. He recounts labors, hardships, sleepiness, hunger, thirst, fasting, cold, and exposure. Beyond all outward pressure lies daily burden of concern for all the assemblies. Who is weak, and he is not weak? Who is made to stumble, and he does not burn? If boasting must happen, he will boast of the things that show his weakness. He seals the truthfulness of his testimony before the God of the Father of the Master Yeshua. The chapter closes with the humiliating memory of being let down in a basket through a window in Damascus to escape the governor under Aretas. Even his final boast is not triumphant spectacle, but weakness, vulnerability, and divine preservation. Bride guarded, to deceivers unmasked, to fleshly boasting unturned, to weakness made the proof of truth. Core theme. Shaul's burden in this chapter is to protect the Corinthians from being seduced by false visions of spirituality. They are in danger of being dazzled by outward force, polished presentation, and predatory confidence. Shaul responds with godly jealousy. He sees the assembly as a bride promised to Messiah, and therefore he will not stand by while cunning men corrupt her devotion. The chapter is also devastating exposure to false ministry. The false emissaries do not merely disagree with Shaul, they consume, dominate, and exploit while wearing a mask of righteousness. Shaul does not answer them by trying to outshine them in glamour. He answers by unveiling their source and then by redefining what real apostolic credentials look like. Not domination, not slickness, not self-display, but truth, love, suffering, and endurance. This is why the chapter ends with weakness instead of conquest. Shaul's boasting culminates in beatings, dangers, and daily burden, and an escape that looked humiliating rather than heroic. This is the chapter's sharp edge. If we judge by fleshly splendor, we will follow deceivers. If we judge by covenant truth, we will recognize that the servant of Messiah is often marked most deeply by weakness borne faithfully.
What are you doing?
How can we learn to love Yehovah with all our heart, soul, mind, and strength? We can love Yehovah by guarding simple and pure devotion to Messiah instead of chasing impressive spiritual spectacle. Love Yehovah by refusing flattering deception even when it appears polished, strong, or persuasive. Love Yehovah by embracing truthful weakness rather than craving fleshly forms of spiritual importance. How can we learn to love our neighbors as we love ourselves and as Yeshua loves us? Protect others from false teaching and manipulative leaders rather than remaining silent for the sake of comfort. Refuse to exploit, dominate, or burden people while speaking in the name of God. Carry a jealousy, covenantal care for the spiritual purity of those entrusted to your influence. How can we bear one another's burdens? Help one another discern the difference between outward charisma and true spiritual substance. Stand with the weak, the stumbled, and spiritually wounded instead of admiring the ones who crushed them. Share in the daily burden of the assemblies, not as critics at a distance, but as those who truly care. What are the top 3 fruits of the Spirit found in this chapter? 1. Discernment, binah. The chapter requires a sharp discernment to recognize false emissaries beneath righteous appearance. 2. Faithfulness, emunah. Shaul proves faithful love for the assembly through costly endurance and truthful labor. 3. Humility, anavah. The chapter overturns self-exalting boasting by showing weakness as the true place of apostolic truth. What is the mitzvah response Torah based? Deuteronomy 13, verse 4. You are to follow Yehovah your God, fear him, obey his mitzvot, listen to what he says, serve him, and cling to him. Command. We will cling to Yehovah, we will cling to the Messiah in purity, reject deceptive voices, and boast only in faithful weaknesses before Yehovah. What is the Hebrew declaration? We will not be seduced by the shine of falsehood, but we will cling to Messiah in purity. In our weaknesses, the truth of Yehovah's service will be seen. We will guard the purity of the heart and the jealousy of the covenant. What is the one-sentence summary? False splendor deceives. True servants bear witness faithfully. Now, after having read the chapter and going over it, here are some heart-piercing questions. Where am I still tempted to confuse outward impressiveness with spiritual truth? Another. Have I drifted from simple, pure devotion to Messiah into something more complicated and fleshly? Another. What deceptive voice have I tolerated because I sounded strong, polished, or confident? Another. Do I measure ministry by visible power or by truth, love, enduring faithfulness? Another. How to respond to weakness in myself or others, as a mark of shame or a place of divine proof? Another. Am I helping guard the purity of the body or merely reacting after damage has spread? Lastly, what would it look like this week to boast only in what shows dependence on Yehovah? We'll end with the Aaronic blessing using the name. Yehovah will kneel before you presenting gifts, and he will guard you with a hedge of protection. Yehovah will illuminate the wholeness of his being toward your bringing order, and he'll provide you with love, sustenance, and friendship. Yehovah will lift up the wholeness of his being and look upon you set in place all you need to be whole and complete. Shalom, shalom.